Welcome into the Bears Coaches Show with head coach Matt Nagy, brought to you by Whipley CPAs and Consultants. Jeff Joniak with you until 8 o'clock tonight here on News Radio 105.9 WBBM. Coach Nagy with us until the bottom of the hour, and then we'll be joined by offensive coordinator Bill Lazor. Matt, good evening. Week 10 in the NFL was a high-scoring affair, several teams eclipsing the 40-plus point mark, including New England, Dallas, Kansas City, and your Bears are hibernating, getting some rest. How did it all go, and how did it go for you?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. You know what? It was good for for all of us to get away for a couple days, and now we're back at it. And had a good day of practice with the guys. Get them back into because they get away, and it's good to kind of get their juices going again, get their bodies going again with practice and their energy, and it was good. So. Now they'll have off tomorrow, get back out and start a normal week on Wednesday.
So the time spent obviously is good for guys to get their R&R, but also to heal up a little bit. So what's the latest? I know you touched on it this morning with the media, but on guys that missed the Steelers game, 3 starters, we forget that. Khalil Mack and Eddie Jackson, Alec Ogletree. How are they? And then we understand Tevin Jenkins and Deion Bush window to possibly return, and this 21-day clock gets underway now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's with Khalil and Ogletree and Eddie Jackson, obviously we would have loved to be able to have them against Pittsburgh, and we didn't. But those guys are on their own individually working through their own injuries. And, sometimes it can be frustrating, and they all are such competitors and want to get back out there and want to be there and fight with their team. And so we'll monitor that all week long. And again, Dre's done a great job, our trainer, of keeping those guys going. And then the good news is, being able to start the 21-day practice period with Tevin Jenkins and Deion Bush. So we're slowly getting those guys back, which is important too, because it's a long year, and this bye hit at the right time, and these guys are trying to get back here for this second part of the season.
Yeah, a lot of questions about Jenkins from the media this morning because he is an interesting figure right now, high draft pick, and not able to see him in pads really. You don't really know a lot about him in terms of getting on the field. You know who he is as a guy, and you've seen him rehab and get ready and get through that back surgery. But what do you know about Tevin Jenkins right now?
We got to be able to see where he's at and how he can play. I mean, he hasn't had pads on in a long time. So that's a part of it, right? Just putting the pads on and then going out there. And then the other part of it too, Jeff, is being able to communicate with those guys when you're out there, whether it's pass protection, whether it's a run block, and then just going through your day-to-day, week-by-week stuff. Now, he's been really great and high spirits this whole time. But that's what we got to see before you even start to say, okay, well, he should be at this spot or that spot. We got to see where he's at individually, and then we can make a decision off of that.
It's a sport that can leave you behind in a big hurry because focus is only on the now, and it's on the guys that are ready to go. We all know that watching the game and being in this sport for so long. So a young guy like that who has high expectations for himself, the team invested a high draft pick in him, showing respect for what his traits are and his talents. How do you monitor his mindset and where he's at about this, and so that he doesn't overdo it to try and get ready, or any number of things, what he must be thinking about, what his teammates think about him, all that? Is that part of this evaluation?
I think that's real, and I know when you're hurting like he was in the preseason, and you want to figure out why, and you want to be able to play better, and you're not 100%, and now you go and you get fixed, and you come back. There's always going to be a sense of urgency to be able to show and prove to everybody why they made the right decision. That's our job as coaches, is to make sure that he understands it. We know that, but we got to do it the right way. And it's going to be a day-by-day thing for him. And then just each day get a little bit better. And you look at a guy like Larry Borum, right? He had a couple injuries here or there, but he's back, and now he put together 2 really good games, and that's growth as a rookie. So we always often talk about Justin and him being as a rookie, but we have some other rookies too, and so we'll just continue to monitor all of that.
All right, so self-scouting is a term we hear often once the bye week hits, but it's a day-to-day. You're always self-scouting, right? Yeah. But the things you did, are you able to reveal some progress and growth that you feel you can really hit the ground running with for the final 8 games?
Probably the biggest thing, Jeff, with the self-scout for us is more so of specific plays and concepts, and I'm speaking on offense, that we are starting to notice and realize that we like. Justin's throwing them well. Justin's reading them well. Whatever that is, progression-wise, our guys are feeling the same way with the identity. And so you see that and you understand that. There's other parts where you say, okay, listen, we got to get a lot better at whether it's a third down and distance, or whether it's a red zone down and distance. We got to be able to get better in these situations. And if we do that, it might only be sometimes 2 or 3 plays that we did not convert that would have taken us from, say, the mid-20s in rankings in the NFL to the upper, or lower teens, by just converting 1 or 2 more. That's how close it is. So that's the stuff that we know we can get better at. And then obviously the big picture is we want to be able to score more points.
Well, running the football is what you can hang your hat on that one. I mean, that has been something from day one. How has that come to be? I mean, you're averaging almost 30 carries a game. That's right up there among the league's best. I think it's 266 rushing attempts and 270 pass attempts this season. So I don't know if you envisioned that to be the case, regardless of record. But what do you think about all that math and about the running game being something you can do when you need to do it? Yeah, well, if we go back and we think about the last couple of years here, and that's been something that we've discussed that, hey, we got to get better in the run game. I think we have this year, and you just said it, you mentioned it. And so when you hang your hat on that and you run the football and you get better at it, like you said, there's some balance there. Pass game attempts are very similar to rush game. Well, it's going to take away a little bit of your pass game if you're running the ball more. So what we want to do is that little bit of pass game that's being taken away, we need to be better with the pass game to make up for it. And now you become a good offense where you're running the ball well, you're throwing the ball well, you're scoring points. For us, bringing in Justin as a rookie and having him start where he did during the beginning of the season and to where he's at right now, it's a focus of ours to continue to feel like we're getting better and better, to where now you're really getting good by the end of the year, which is where you want to get good. You don't want to go the other way. And that's the excitement for us, is understanding that, listen, we got a rookie quarterback that's growing every day, every week. And our offense is going to slowly get better and better with an identity. Match it up with the defense and special teams, we could get hot at the right time. Welcome back to the Bears Coaches Show. It is brought to you by Whipley, CPAs and consultants, a proud partner of the Chicago Bears. Learn more at whipley.com. Bears head coach Matt Nagy with Bill Lazor to join the program at the bottom of the hour. So when we went to the break, we were just talking about Justin Fields, the passing game, and his growth. I mean, that second half in Pittsburgh, I know it's ancient history now, but that, for me, as a fan and as a broadcaster and as the play-by-play guy, is a platform moment for another piece of the floor and climbing up those steps because of the environment, because of the moment, and frankly, the 5 yards away from a game-winning field goal on the road and a walk-off win into the bye week. Honestly, I mean, is that where your excitement maybe begins? For sure. And, 2 weeks ago against the 49ers, 4th and 1, what a huge moment at home to be able to make a play with his legs and score that touchdown. To me, that was a moment too, to everybody at home, to see that and feel that. But then now in the environment you talked about, against a team that hasn't lost in 30 years on Monday Night Football, when I looked at him and just saw the confidence that he had on the sideline before that drive, I knew we were going to score. And you don't really know it until you do it, but then he did it. And that is a platform moment. That's what we want to grow from, and he wants to grow from. And, that's the excitement that we all have right now. So there's some moments now that other guys are growing with him. So the first guy I think of, well, it's Darnell Mooney for sure, but Cole Kmet. So I believe 29 targets over the last 5 games. He had 13 first downs in those games. Early in the year, he had a 3 first down game, and then 3 weeks in a row, no first downs because it wasn't getting the ball much. But, he was heard to say to Fields, mic'd up after the game, let's build on this, bro. So we can do this. How significant, yes, you got the running game, you got leaders, but your tight end, your young tight end with your young quarterback and young backfield, how significant is that for those two guys to bond in that sense? It's huge. And from meeting me from the first day that we met, where I stand and what I believe in with tight ends. And, for us to be able to get Cole Kmet, who's, again, we got to remember this is a second-year tight end.
I could give plenty of examples of really good tight ends in this league that did not have the numbers or the progression that Cole Kmet's having right now and became really good players early on in their career. And that's where he's at. So when you throw a rookie quarterback into the mix as well, and you throw the timing into it, when you see those two start to build that relationship, like he said, let's build on this, bro. That's what you want. And so you start having more and more connections. A tight end can be a quarterback's best friend for many different reasons. And you're starting to see that. The targets go up. You talked about Mooney, you talk about A-Rob, you talk about, Marquise Goodwin had a big catch, our running back room, our other tight ends. I mean, we want to keep growing with all that, but that relationship between Cole Kmet and Justin is only going to get stronger.
All right, let's touch defensively. The run game, and you made a great point. You guys were doing a nice job defending it. The San Francisco game, they did some different things on the edges and got you. They got you on the big chunks. But are you relatively comfortable with where that's going? Eddie Goldman had himself a good game. Watching that again on tape, Are you okay? Are you still confident in the run defense?
I am. I absolutely am. And I think going into this, the defensive line was definitely and is one of our greatest strengths on defense, depth-wise and everything. And Coach Rump does a great job with those guys. Those guys play hard. And you just mentioned it with Eddie Goldman. Eddie Goldman had the best game of a Bear this year. He is getting better. You see it on tape. We're going to need that because teams are going to continue to run the ball. We're getting later and later in the season, and weather starts to change, and teams know they got to run it. So we know that, and we got to stop it. And if you don't stop it, they're going to keep running. So that's an emphasis for us, and I have ultimate belief in our guys.
So on our Bears Game Night Live show last night, we had to come up with a player of the first half of the season. Tom went with David Montgomery for reasons other than, yes, he missed some games, but reasons other than just his production is just what he means and his fight and his grit. And I could have easily gone with Roquan Smith, for example, but I went with Robert Quinn because he's a different player. We've seen him burst, have the explosion, make up ground quickly, close the distance, 6.5 sacks. He's getting explosive plays in there. Would that be fair as well for Robert Quinn?
Absolutely. And you look at guys like Khalil Mack, who unfortunately with the injury hasn't had the production or numbers because of not being out there recently, but he was off to a hot start too. Yep. You can never go wrong with Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith's playing some of the best football that I've ever seen a middle linebacker play in a long, long time. So that's the easy one. But with Robert Quinn and what he does, unfortunately, he had to miss 1 week with being in the COVID protocol and stuff. But he practices hard. He plays hard. He's reminding everybody how good of a player he is. The offense has got to know it. 6.5 sacks. So you're absolutely right picking him.
Download the Chicago Bears app to play our new Predictor game. Risk It, brought to you by Bet Rivers for your chance to win $250 in free bets and a custom Bears jersey. Matt Nagy with us, our final segment with head coach. We're just starting to scratch the surface on Roquan Smith. So I think he's playing faster than he ever has in his time here. He gets it. He triggers quickly, and he's a marauder out there. Tell us more about what you see.
The one thing, Jeff, that I see starts on Wednesday, goes to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then finishes on Sunday. Every single rep, he is in there practicing his tail off. And, I always look out, and every time in practice, if there's a 10-play period, he's there for play 1 through 10 in practice. That's rare. And so sometimes we have to be able to just pull him out and save some of his legs and make sure we're keeping an eye on that. But he does not want to come out. He practices how he plays, and he plays how he practices. This guy is extremely motivated. He's a football player, high IQ. He's a missile on the field, and he's out to show everybody why he is the best middle linebacker in the NFL, and we're lucky to have him. So, I'm looking forward to the rest of this year.
Has he always been that way?
He has. And I think, but what happens is just like Justin as a quarterback, as a rookie, when you start playing more and more plays throughout the season, and now here he is in his fourth year, the game slows down. You have keys, you have tendencies, you know how to study tape. So when you're out there on Sunday, man, you're just flying around, and that's what he's doing right now. And you're starting to see it. And now it's only going to get better.
That takeaway bucket getting a little lonely, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You're right. And and we talk about it. We bring it up. We talk about it in practice. We practice it. You want to be able to get to that point in the game where you can get some turnovers. And that is something that usually comes in ebb and flows with how that happens. And so hopefully we'll start to see that turn. What I don't want to get into with that, Jeff, is something where you start pressing, right? And you're trying to, you can't, they'll come when they come. And as long as you talk about it, you teach it, and you just take it into the game, and they'll come up, and it'll flip the field for the offense, and we'll get more scores as well.
Yeah, pressing would lead to missed tackles and taking some chances you don't want to take. All right, before we get into the Baltimore Ravens, we got to talk about Clyde Emerick, because Clyde Emerick will be laid to rest this week. Meant a lot to me. I'll probably get choked up talking about him. But when you think about it, he has had an impact on every coach from George Halas to you. In the history of the Chicago Bears, from 1963, when he was first introduced to him, in 1971, when he became the head strength and conditioning coach, the first of its kind in the National Football League. What did you learn from him?
Well, you're right. It's what a emotional time, and just what a great man that you saw around the building all the time. Always had a smile on his face. The relationships that he built with so many people and the support staff that he used to work with, and I mean, for somebody to be 90 years old like he was, and be able to be around the building and have so much love for his Chicago Bears is special. And anybody that you talk to, it doesn't matter whether you're in this building or you're outside or you're on the telephone, they all have nothing but positive things to say, and how much he impacted them. And obviously, to have a nickname, the Legend, that's pretty special. So we all love him to death. We prayers, thoughts and prayers with his family, and boy, it's hard to replace him for sure.
No question about it. All right, John Harbaugh, Baltimore Ravens. First thing you think of, much like the rest of the AFC North, physical toughness, great special teams, run the ball, and then you got, oh, by the way, a very gifted quarterback, elite athleticism in Lamar Jackson. What are we looking at here on Sunday?
Yeah, well, first of all, get ready to play 60 tough minutes. Maybe more, right? They've had some overtime games.
Three of them.
Yeah, exactly. Three of them. So you got to be able to out-physical a physical football team. This is probably one that's going to, be something where all week long, the emphasis of understanding that, not just physically, but mentally, when you have an unbelievable player that touches the football every play, like Lamar Jackson, that can beat you with his legs and his arms. Schematically, they do a great job on offense. Defensively, I have a ton of respect for Wink Martindale. He throws a lot of different stuff at you. Special teams is Coach Harbaugh's thing. And so there's a reason why they win a lot, and they're consistent doing it. So this is another one of those fist fights. This is it. And we wouldn't want it any other way. It's going to challenge us, and we just got to continue to play together.
Miami did a heck of a thing against Lamar Jackson. I mean, it was a 2-level defense. And they loaded up the line and had a little picket fence back there, and they didn't allow many escape routes. So there are things in there that you can use.
Well, anytime that you see a team have success, you're always going to see, okay, what's the why? And then you got to see how it fits with what your scheme is, and defensively, and then what we want to do. So Sean, I'm sure, will be looking at a lot of different things to be able to slow them down and stop them. But our biggest thing is because they're such a good football team, is getting back to those three phases. But in the end, we lost four games in a row, and it's time that we win against a really good football team, and that's going to be the ultimate focus. And so we got to be strong across the board.
All right, Matt. Good luck with your preparation this week. We'll see you soon.
All right, Jeff. Thanks, man.
That's Bears head coach Matt Nagy. Coming up next, Bill Lazor joins the program. The Bears matchup with the Ravens brought to you by Cigna, the official partner of the Bears. Salute to Service Initiatives. Back on the Bears Coaches Show. Now joined by Bears offensive coordinator Bill Lazor. Bill, thanks for joining us. Did you enjoy your time last week?
Yeah, it was the bye usually comes at a good time. So we're regrouped, ready to roll.
All right, so as you thought about it, as you think about it now, what'd you learn about yourself here in the first 9 games of the year, especially as a play caller?
Well, I think we just have to keep focused on our number one job is to score enough points to win. And you never know going into the game. You have great plans, but you also have a big call sheet because games can go in a lot of directions. I think as we look at it, We feel good about some of the run game production that we've had. We also have to be real honest, looking in the mirror that in some of the games the run game production has been good, but it hasn't given us enough points to win the games. And really, again, in the end, that's the key. So we just have to keep getting better. We got to keep the run game production going. I think it's slowed down a little bit, some of the stuff in the last couple of games, and I think the quarterback run has helped add to that number. So anyway, we just have to keep rolling, and we've been talking about just continuing to get that pass game production to rise to kind of match what we're doing in the run game. I think that'll be key for us.
But what happened in the second half, particularly that game against Pittsburgh, in the moment, in the crowd, and I brought this up with Matt earlier in the show, just God, it gives you so much excitement because you're basically 5 yards away from walking off that field a winner, and Justin Fields led two of the most impressive scoring drives to get there, if that would have turned out that way.
Yeah, I think, again, the key is winning, and we didn't get it done. But if you're real honest and look at some of the things that Justin did and that the pass offense did in the second half, you have to feel like we made some progress. And so we've had time to look at it. We just have to build on it, and let's start at the beginning of the game and not have to come back, right? And then in the next handful of games.
Do you pour over your decisions like I would be in that situation because that's the kind of guy, or are you an easy guy to turn the page as a coach?
Well, I think there aren't many games that you can come out of and say, gosh, this is the one I didn't like, or this call. So I think there are always a handful of calls you come out of a game and you just try to learn from them, I think, more than anything else, and as long as you take that mindset, because if you let it eat you up, well, you're always going to live that way because you can't call the perfect game. So you just learn from what happens and move to the next one.
Have you ever let it eat you up, and then you learned how not to?
I think in let's see, this was sixth grade. We had the lead, okay, and we had the ball backed up inside our own 5, and it was fourth down. It was a tight game in the fourth quarter, and during the timeout, I went to the sideline, and the coaches had called this play where I was going to fake into line, and I was a quarterback, and I was going to keep it like on a naked bootleg. And I said, why not take the safety? And they kind of gave me, no, just shut up. This is what we're going to do. And so, of course, I got tackled at like the 3-yard line, and then they scored a touchdown and beat us. And I just remember afterwards, crying in the shower, I should have just taken the safety. I knew better. I knew better. So yeah, it's gotten me sometimes.
That's sixth grade, and it still lingers. I love it. That's right. A football guy right there. Attending Sunday's game, be sure to stop by the Miller Lite Ultimate Tailgate located at the Field Museum for food, games, music, and more. Free to Bears fans of all ages, the Ultimate Tailgate opens at 10 a.m. through 1 hour post-game. Welcome back to the Bears Coaches Show with Bears offensive coordinator Bill Lazor. Justin Fields, you have this elite athlete at quarterback. He's young. He's a first-round pick. You're helping mold and develop this guy on the fly. And the responsibility of that, but also to the rest of the team, is also foremost. But that's the most important part in sports, right? That quarterback position. Do you feel all of that every day, every week, about developing and helping this guy get to where he needs to be?
Oh, I think we just feel the fact that we've got to win games, and because he's at the quarterback spot, where he is in his development is critical and how we can win the games, so that's really what we focus on. Right now we're just focused on beating the Ravens, and you look at the last few games and you say, okay, this is where Justin is, and how can we use that to beat him? And that's it. I mean, that's our job.
How many times have we heard this, 2 quarterbacks help raise all boats? Is that happening here because Cole Kmet getting more active in the passing game? Allen Robinson last week. We have all these weapons. Do you feel that everything's starting to climb? I know they still haven't enough points being scored. You're not winning right this moment, but do you feel positive?
Well, I think you got to be realistic, right? That we've got to get a winning streak started. I think we know that when the pass production isn't coming, that all those pass catchers that you're mentioning, they're not getting the ball, and so I think as coaches we feel all the guys you mentioned, they all want to help contribute to winning, and they can in the run game if they're blocking, but they also want to be able to contribute as far as getting the ball, and we want to get them the ball. So I think the responsibility we feel is making sure everyone has a chance to help win the game and take advantage of those matchups. So that's part of what we're going through right now, is making sure we're giving those guys opportunities with football.
What is the offensive line allowing you to do right now, and how do you think they've progressed over the course of the season? And a little shout out to Jason Peters coming in here, thrown in there, and at his age and experience level, really play well and have that conditioning that he did not have in the offseason.
Well, to me in this league, I think it goes under noticed how important the line is, really. I mean, they don't get the publicity, but when they're playing well, you can run for first downs and you can get the ball to your receivers because the quarterback has time. And really, those, to me, the keys, you look at the Baltimore Ravens and some of the blitz looks that they like to bring. I mean, if we come out of this game happy with our production, it will be because we've protected the quarterback. I mean, that to me really is critical. Now part of that is being able to run it effectively. That helps keep them off balance a little bit. If they know you're throwing it every play, we know how they're going to play. So I think the way the line plays and everyone else that helps in pass protection, it's going to be really big this week because of the scheme that we're facing.
There was a lot of discussion. Obviously, we're adding a bunch of burners to the roster, speed at the receiver position, out of the backfield, and with Justin now playing quarterback. Have you benefited from it enough to your satisfaction, or has it tilted the field the way you maybe hoped it intended to?
Well, I think overall we would all say that when your pass production is so poor that you're not getting the ball to those guys enough, and we feel like there's way more production there. I think one of the things that you look at this past game was our yards per catch and how that number really jumped up for us. The whole yards per attempt in the pass game numbers, I think, is a real telling number. Yep. It's something we've struggled with other than in 2 games this year. And so we'd like to build off of those chunk plays that we're able to get to those speed guys you mentioned.
And for fans who don't get into all of that, they just like watching the game, and the yards per pass attempt absolutely relates to winning. And explain why.
Well, whether you're a team that chooses to throw it 45 times or 28 times in a game, what it does is it just measures when you do throw it, how effective are you being. And, it takes, I think, a lot of other factors get taken into account, the completion percentage and then where you're throwing it down the field. And we know there have been times when our targets have been a little bit limited as far as spread in the field. And so we're trying to do a great job of being aggressive and spreading the whole field. And I think as we did that a little bit better in this last game, it showed up in the production our pass catchers got. If
you combine all the math on the running backs, Damian and Herbert and Montgomery and Justin, you'd put together an 1,100-plus yard back with 8 touchdowns and a really good average yards per carry, good stuff on first down. And we'd be talking about a guy, if that was one back, we'd be talking about him as an MVP candidate in the league, right? So you're getting great stuff out of the run game. Montgomery back, that affects obviously touches for Herbert. Do you feel you could use both in a manner based on matchups that reflect a way to take advantage of them?
I think so. I think if you're talking about individual statistics, the number one way for guys to get good individual statistics is to get the lead in the game.
Time now to look ahead, brought to you by Bet Rivers, the official sportsbook partner of the Bears. The Ravens head to Soldier Field on Sunday after being stunned by the Dolphins 22-10 last Thursday night. A streak of 51 regular season games with at least 14 points, the second longest streak in NFL history, behind a 63-game run by New England from 2009 to 2013, came to an end. Back with Bill Lazor. That's a bunch of interesting math. Every week the league comes out with a bunch of interesting stuff that you probably don't pay any attention to, right?
Yeah, there isn't. When you spend all your time trying to make first downs and touchdowns, there isn't time to read all that stuff. But the thing going in is that they have some elite players on offense, that they've been very good at scoring points. Again, we're focusing on what we have to do to their defense to move the ball, but we know what kind of what kind of team they have, what their record is, what their average is. And it's our job to be ready for however the game goes.
And your familiarity, certainly from a Bengals perspective, when you were there, you know what that whole division is about, and it is about toughness and physicality and pressure in the quarterback, right?
Yeah, I mean, this defense wants to be known for blitz, and they'll kind of live a little bit in the feast or famine world, and they certainly will put the pressure on you to have to make the play. They're going to make you prove that you can make the play against the blitz and pressure situations. That's since this coordinator took over, that's kind of how he's operated. You can tell their guys tend to take pride in it, enjoy it. They're not afraid to leave DBs on an island out there and say, okay, let's see if you can make the throw. When you look at them week to week, there's some weeks they play a lot of man, some other weeks they decide to play zone. So they're in their coaches' meetings right now, just like we are. They're deciding how they're going to play us, but we know there'll be plenty of blitz calls on that call sheet on game day for him if he chooses to use them.
All right, lastly, are there things that Lamar Jackson does that Justin, you would like Justin to watch and see how he attacks?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I guess you'd have to ask Justin if he studied him or not. I just think to me, Justin, especially recently, has shown the ability to be an NFL quarterback and his ability to play from the pocket, to use play action, to throw on time. Like we talked about this week, he really was able to spread the ball across the whole field. And then with his ability to run, he also was able to do some things from the backfield, from the shotgun, where he either pulled the ball or made decisions to give the ball in some of the read game that I thought was really good in putting pressure on the defense. So to me, all those things are going to keep developing for him, and week to week, it's going to be a little bit different challenge. These guys they'll be challenging in his ability to defeat the blitz. I mean, that'll be the number one thing, both in how we protect it and then how he handles it. So it'll be interesting to see.
All right, Bill, good luck with your preparation this week. We'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
That's Bears offensive coordinator Bill Lazor. Okay, that's going to wrap up tonight's program. Thanks to our producers, Andy Gersher, Keith Johnson, Katie Tuber, Jordan Tredoff, and Dan Barilli. Bears-Ravens, Sunday, 9 a.m. the pregame, noon the kickoff from Soldier Field. That's going to do it for me. I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been the Bears Coaches Show on News Radio 105.9 WBBM. Good night, everybody.